Ravi, thanks very much indeed. Fascinating insights as ever. We're out of time. We're going to have to leave questions till after we've spoken for lunch, but thank you very much indeed. I want to ask you about inventing a smart horse, but we'll save that one until the networking lunch, which will happen in the not too distant future. We've got a couple of things left to come. In about half an hour, we've got an interview on stage looking at some government initiatives. In many ways, it's a case study, if you like, with the RTA based here in Dubai. Boots on the ground stuff, so I'm looking forward to that. Now though, we have an interesting perspective from another large multinational organisation. And this is it, from smart cities to smart enterprises, deliver IoT today. You hear at the beginning I talked about the three things that I wanted to look at today, and one of them was, well, how do we do this? If we accept that the risks are worth it, and we get this wonderful deep utility from smart cities, and we go, yeah, I want a bit of that, how do we do it? How do we deliver it to make sure we're one of the winners? Well, the next presentation is going to address some of those things. In particular, smooth transition into IoT. Simple, scalable, secure and smart. Does that sound appealing? Well, if it does, listen up, because our next speaker is the Vice President and Chief Technologist, Software Design Architecture, Worldwide Sales, and one of the largest multinational organizations focused on this area of technology. It is Avaya, and he is Jean Turgeon. Please welcome him to the stage. Thanks, Jean. You have the clicker.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Exciting times, lots to talk about. So without further ado, I heard in some of the opening statements that in order to make the city smart and improve and deliver on Internet of Things and services enablement, we need to bring real facts. So my role is global, and what I wanted to share with you is to bring some real facts to your attention. And some of them did not happen here, but again, it's very important that we bring this sense of reality as to what are the opportunities and what are the unfortunate situations that we are facing in the market. Here's an example. A gentleman had an aneurysm at home. His daughter grabbed the IP phone and dialed for emergency, which in North America is 911. Dialed for emergency, but unfortunately, the configuration and the location was wrong, and therefore the ambulance was on its way in the wrong city. That person ended up in a coma for 6 weeks, paralyzed, lost his voice capabilities. Fortunately, that person survived. My question is, how smart was that? Second one, there's a lady that unfortunately drove the car into a lake. The lady grabbed the cell phone, the mobile device, and called for emergency. But unfortunately, the operator and the location capabilities did not go beyond the roads. And therefore, that person actually was drowning, lost conscience while speaking to the operator, and unfortunately, that person died 12 days later in the hospital. Is that smart? Then we have another example with Target when it comes to security and exposure. Through the HVAC partnership or ecosystem, someone was able to penetrate the network because the legacy network exposed some of the capabilities for someone to log in and connect to their private services. And again, exposing credit card information, personal information, from their customers. Once again, how smart was that? And if you look at some of the hacking capabilities, once a hacker penetrates your network, you really have full visibility of the entire infrastructure, and therefore you can do even further damage, to your business. Last, but not least, a lady was being attacked in a hotel. Her daughter witnessed that and grabbed the phone and tried to call for emergency and dial 911, only to get a busy signal. She tried 4 times, only to have to run out the door, go next door, and hear her mom, being attacked, which unfortunately also died. The little girl had to dial 911. How smart was that? Again, those are real facts that are fortunately not happening in your backyard, but are happening out there in the market, and we need to start addressing those and make sure that as we build smart cities, it is a combination of blocks, of building blocks that will bring us there. So as we look at this, the world is changing. And what we are facing is programming errors, complexity, we have unknown locations capabilities, we have a lack of capacity. And the bottom line is we've built a very complex infrastructure. In some areas we've done better than others, but with that, we need to start re-looking at how do we move forward. If we expect to move into IoT and smart cities without drastically doing something different and innovation, provide innovation, we're not going to achieve our objective, and this is what this is all about. It is time for a change. It is time to leverage innovation that has been brought to market. But first, as I look at this, I've been dealing and working in the Middle East, for quite some time, very closely with many of the customers down here for probably the last 10 or so. The world has changed, and you guys are leaders in innovation and pushing the envelope to building the tallest building, right? To bringing more large facilities, to building the largest indoor park, to even committing to the market that you're going to go to Mars. So all of those are key innovation, pushing the envelope. And I've witnessed the transformation that Dubai has gone through, and now it's time to continue to push the envelope towards smarter services and all of the various building blocks that are required to adapt to this, to bring Dubai to be the smartest city by 2021. So with that, we start looking at some of the capabilities, right, that we have. Many have talked about some of the roads, right? Now, of course, bringing sensors technology to be able to control lights and do analytics will bring a smarter environment from a transportation system. I'm not debating this at all. But in the end, if your roads are congested, what can you do about it? Changing the light to go green is not going to help you. And as the opening speech said this morning, if your only solution is to build larger facilities and add lanes to your roads and transportation system, is this really the right solution? And what we fundamentally believe is there's probably a better alternative, right, than to look at just that. And then once again, I don't want to say do not do that, but we need to look at alternatives. So what are the alternatives in the marketplace? I look at the airline industry in an analogy. You guys have clearly, and by the way, be proud of it, the #1 airline in the world. There's no doubt. I travel globally, and I'm not saying this just because I'm here. I've been seeing it, quite a bit. It's a very pleasant experience. But with that said, let's apply some of the logics that the airline industry, right, has applied over the last few years, because when there's congestion, we have the ability to adapt to it. And the best example is if you look at the network, right, for airline industry, they have a grid, which again was a term used this morning, a grid architecture. Let me use again some examples. If you are in flight and you run into bad weather, what do? We don't go and just land and wait for the storm to pass by. We go and get rerouted on the fly, real time, to a different path because we have a grid-based architecture that is controlling traffic congestion. So we can manage the situation, and the same thing could occur if you have fog that is shutting down your airport and you need to be rerouted temporarily to another airport so that again you can land safely and not put at risk your citizens or the guests or visitors that are coming to see you. So if you apply the same mindset, right, of a grid-based architecture that is highly successful for the airline industry, why can't we apply a similar concept? So when you are stuck in traffic, despite the fact that the light turns green and no cars are moving, and therefore the emergency vehicle, being the police, the ambulance, can't go anywhere, they are stuck. The concept of flying over the network all right, and using a service like a helicopter kind of makes sense. And that's why we have brought those type of services to the market, and that's why we leverage those to address some of the business and some of the citizens' need. So that is a smarter way to look at it. But let's not kid ourselves. Over the last 20, 25 years, we've done a great job at building a networking infrastructure based on legacy protocols that bring a lot of fragility. So the network can be very unstable, very fragile, and is really built with that same mindset of the highway, where all of the traffic is forced to funnel through a specific path. And unless there's a failure, we are not smart enough to use the other path because we have not built a grid-based infrastructure. So how smart will be your healthcare, your education, your finance, all right, your public safety, if you don't look at this completely differently? So rather than building a smart city on shaky grounds, why don't we look at stabilizing so that when we have services that need to leverage a grid, that we build a next generation infrastructure that is highly robust, highly secure, highly reliable, but not just that. That starts addressing some of the green requirements, right? So we have now getting rid of CO2 emission from the cars. We're moving to hybrid electrical cars, hydropower cars in the future. We need to build a greener environment and continue to reduce the consumption of electricity. We need to leverage solar power. But it's again a combination of various businesses, various market segments to do their share to bring the Dubai environment to a much smarter city. So as we look at this, it's a combination of different building blocks that will get us there by 2021. But we must first address the infrastructure to have a grid-based architecture that is much more robust than what we are dealing with. Think about some of the examples of previous speakers about the carrier wireless, which applies the exact same model of the grid network. As you roam across cell towers, you have resiliency, you have different ways of communicating as opposed to being forced into a single road. So with that, let's apply the same thing to start enabling Internet of Things. When you look at the Internet of Things, it's about enabling services at the edge of your enterprise, at the edge of your city. It's about sensors technology, it's about video surveillance and scalability, it's about enabling Wi-Fi services, it's about controlling lights through analytics or big data analytics. It's a combination of all of these, but as I mentioned all of these components, mobile devices and everything has to reside and be automatically connected at the network at the edge of your infrastructure. And therefore, what if it was now possible to build a grid-based architecture end-to-end to be able to support the enablement of those smart services and Internet of Things or everything all the way across your entire enterprise? And now you're enabling Internet of Things better and faster than what we've been capable of through complex provisioning and again, unstable type of infrastructure. So what we're saying is, in order to build a smart city, you have building blocks that you need to address. First, the smart government. The examples and the real facts that I brought earlier, and where we are struggling in places like North America, is where the government took time to intervene and to change some of the regulations. If the government had stepped in early to change the regulation and enforce 911 to work on every mobile device, regardless if you have a data service, regardless if you're in a hotel or if you're grabbing any type of phone devices or communication devices, we wouldn't have all of these deaths. And these people, right, and their families would not have been impacted. So it's absolutely imperative that the government takes a key role in delivering smart cities as we move forward and regulates some of the key functionality and feature set that are required to deliver better services to the citizens. The enterprises have to do their share. If they continue to pollute the environment, if they don't transition to hybrid cars, right? If the taxi industry does not adapt a new model, if the enterprises continue to be slow at delivering those services, how quick will you be able to get to smart cities, and will you be able to achieve that by 2021? Now, no doubt in my mind, knowing the people in this city, you will get there. But what I'm saying is it's imperative that these building blocks are all delivering on the expectations that we have to form, again, the full smart city environment. And last but not least, the citizens have to endorse this technology as well. If your citizens are resisting the change and don't move to mobile devices, what will that do to your smart cities? If they don't download the apps and use the apps that you're building to help enhance the experience, and we've seen again multiple examples of that this morning, how again smart will your city be? So what we are saying is it's a combination of these building blocks that are absolutely mandatory, right, in order to achieve smart cities, in order to achieve, right, a happier population and have guests and visitors come to you because they really enjoy the experience. So these building blocks are absolutely critical as we move forward. Now back to my use cases and the Target example. Is it possible, as we enable the Internet of Things, to securely connect any device, regardless of its level of intelligence or the protocol that it's running? The answer is yes. And we're giving you an example here of a virtual bank or virtual branch system, just to leverage one, but the ability to securely connect across any IP infrastructure, being the internet, being an IP MPLS carrier-grade network, or being your private infrastructure, or even through a competitive infrastructure, it doesn't matter. We have to be able to securely bring them to connect to their services. But more importantly, we must ensure that the connection, the physical connectivity, being wire to wireless, does not remain open for someone to penetrate your network like it happened at Target. So therefore, this concept of elasticity, where the network has to retract and the services retract and expand as you need them. Today, the legacy infrastructure statically exposes those services because we have to statically configure every port in the event that a service may be used. Imagine in this trade center, if we had to statically configure every potential port to have any potential services, it would be a massive amount of work, and again, the exposure that we would have would be substantial. So it is imperative that we start looking at the infrastructure to be smarter and provide this concept of elasticity above and beyond increasing the reliability and security, right, that we have talked about. Another concept, right, that in a real use case that hopefully many of you will resonate. This concept of a guardian angel, right, that brings solutions that your citizens will definitely value, and certainly folks like the Dubai Police and other security, right, and emergency services response teams. So the concept here is quite simple, yet extremely powerful. What if we could, when someone dials 999 for emergency services, and we now have the ability to provide a video-enabled mobile device without any client being installed on your mobile device. So that means that I have my cell phone, I dial 999 for emergency, I don't just have a voice channel, I have a data channel where a video, such as a YouTube, right, showing me how to perform CPR because someone is having a heart attack next to me, can then be established. But then I can turn around and use that mobile cell phone into an input for a video and give the emergency response team a live video feed as to what is going on currently, right, with the situations we are dealing with. In addition, and this is the Guardian Angel add-on, what if I could also, through wearables or your cell phone or whatever it ends up being as a personality in the future, but also have proximity capabilities to detect the presence of a CCTV camera and bring that visibility to you before you actually turn the corner. bring a next level of intelligence to emergency response, right, teams as you move forward towards delivering smarter public safety. This is very powerful. This brings data analytics and various capabilities, right, across your entire enterprise together to deliver something very safe. So last but not least, this is now possible. And this is why, right, my intro was Internet of Things today, not tomorrow. Let's start doing this today. We have the ability to enable the edge and Internet of Things services. If you build a mesh grid architecture, it will be easier for you to enable those services while maintaining openness, because not one vendor can do it all, and you need an open ecosystem to be able to deliver this. And therefore, adding the Internet of Things and adding devices, sensors, Wi-Fi services, security services will be possible as you move forward. And therefore, your population and your green environment objectives will be achieved, right, as you move forward. And on that note, we fundamentally believe at Avaya that these building blocks are critical and imperative to our success moving forward. It is all of these people that need to come together to bring this to reality, and therefore you will see your happiness meter rank to much higher levels as we move forward and get closer to 2021. So with that said, thank you very much, and hopefully you found that valuable.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Time's against us. We're going to have to leave questions till over lunch. We really appreciate your insights. Thank you very much indeed. Now, lunch is coming in about 25 minutes time or so, but before that, fascinating discussion and really bringing together so many of the ideas that we've heard today, because we're going to hear from a couple of people who are doing this. They're doing it now, and they're doing it here in Dubai. So we're going to find out what it's like at the front line, at the sharp edge, if you like. We've got a couple of people to do that, not just one.